What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to how Major League Soccer plans to overtake baseball, or the MLS. I don't know if this is going to get blocked. If this does get blocked, this would have to be a Patreon reaction. If this doesn't get blocked, this will be a reaction from my second channel where I do these kinds of reactions and I post them. I hope I can post it because I've been doing similar things to this and I just enjoy seeing, like, having sort of conversations with people in the comments. It's a lot more of a smaller community, but I know a lot of people who like seeing my reactions to the MLS or the USMNT, should I say, or the Canadian international team, and like just a lot of North American based things around soccer, because obviously the seen thing, or the known thing, is like, oh, it's not very big in the US or Canada specifically. But the more I'm learning is like there is still a big, because obviously the populations are so high and there are so many sports in the US. There's obviously going to be people that are bound to not like it, as there are in the UK as well. But there are big groups of people that do love this sport, and I don't know if this video is 100% correct or what, but it just popped up in my feed and I thought it could be a fun little reaction. So I mean, this isn't my opinion, I'm just here to sort of watch this. If you don't agree with this, that's fair enough, but hey, this is just for me to learn basically. And let me know your thoughts on this video after it's finished, to sort of see and like give your point of view of maybe why you agree or disagree. And obviously I'm going to give my opinions throughout the video. But yeah, don't hate me for what I say, because obviously I'm just going to sort of react to what's said in the video and to see what sort of opinions are shared. But at the end of the day, I know there's probably, I don't know if this would ever be the case, well, you can't actually see it here, but I don't know if it would be the case if the MLS could ever actually overtake baseball or the NFL or whatever. So I mean, yeah, we're going to check this video out. I hope you're going to enjoy. If you want more reactions like this, suggest in the comments. And yeah, I'll do some in future, but let's jump into this.
Soccer in the US, it hasn't always had the best track record. It's popular.
And to be fair, the MLS final this year was actually pretty banging, man. There was a last second goal, and then they still lost, but Portland scored a last second goal. Like, there was all the drama you need for there to like be an interest in the sport. And now with the World Cup in 2026, it's promising, man. You never know. Like, World Cups are known for like boosting popularity in any country it's in. Like, yeah, it's a promising thing for sure. So yeah, let's just jump into. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
Interest is usually tied to major events such as the World Cup or the Olympics. Major League Soccer has spent over 25 years trying to change soccer sentiment in the US, while competing with more fast-paced, high-scoring sports like the NFL and NBA.
You know, you could just tell that the players are better, the speed of the game. You know, not being the biggest soccer fan, you could just look at it. It's night and day. You know, MLS, it looks like it's more minor league. It looks like it's growing. But, you know, listen, they have the signages all over the place. Very innovative league the MLS is, but they got to improve that competition.
Over the last 10 years, the MLS has become increasingly popular. The league garnered the attention of top talent across the world, brought in significant investments in celebrity ownership,
Lorenzo Insigne as well.
Generated a massive
wait, shit, I want to read this. Lorenzo Insigne going to the MLS is looking like a player who's in his prime. Usually it's with top class players like Zlatan, but they're at the end of their career, or it looks like the end of their career, because he's obviously still doing bits now, but they're not in their primes. Insigne, man, he's like an actual, like, he's a player that you can sort of, like, I would have taken him at Manchester United and I would love him there, because we just don't have wingers who can ever perform. Like, he's that level player. He could play at probably any team in the world, bar maybe Real Madrid, like right now, probably like Bayern Munich, but he would still play there. Like, I don't know, it's a very good signing. So I mean, that's also something that's shown, like, maybe there's actually a bit of a pool now. Like, teams from the MLS like Toronto are being able to pull top talents from some of the best European clubs. Like Toronto and Napoli, you sort of think Napoli are up here, Toronto are sort of building themselves up, but the fact that they're able to steal players from them or take their players to them, offering them bigger contracts, that's what you need, man. That's what you need.
Investments in celebrity ownership growth, and generated a massive presence on social media.
We think the internet, you know, puts us in a position where we can talk to this enormous fan base around the world. And what we've done over the past 10 to 12 years is really increase the investment in making the US and MLS one of the top leagues in the world.
But the MLS's rise in popularity has seen its fair share of obstacles, financial woes, leadership changes and shakeups, and its continuous fight to draw in a TV audience. Following its 2021 season, things may be shifting in the MLS's favor, with new expansion teams, rising popularity, and a new media deal that can bring millions of fans and billions in revenue.
This is the largest sport in the world. and the U.S. is the largest sports economy in the world.
Recipe
So
for
there is
success,
something
man.
really special in the making here. And it just requires steady investment. But you think about the ownership group in MLS and the amount of capital that's been invested, it's never going back. It's only going forward.
Before the MLS became, well, the MLS, there was the North American Soccer
Yeah, bro. There was a bit. I found out about this about maybe a year ago. I was just sort of looking how I just do usually. I just sort of scroll through Wikipedia and learn about different things. I found out there was a time where like Pele, George Best, a lot of like the best players in the world at that point were playing in the American Soccer League at that point, whatever it was called. Like he was playing for the New York Cosmos, I think. I don't know who George Best was playing for. When other players as well, like it's crazy when you think about it. They literally had all the best players in the world. Like imagine nowadays they had like the MLS literally had players like in the. I feel like they were probably in the, well, they were in the later stages of their career, but they're still the big names. So like you got Ronaldo, Messi, then I don't know, some like 31, 32-year-olds, just the top level players who are a bit older, but they are still the elite players in their positions. Like you just imagine like Ronaldo and Messi right now being at two MLS teams. Like it's just it would be insane.
which ran from 1968 to 1984.
Why
And it
did
was
end?
considered the blueprint for what the MLS should and shouldn't do. The North American Soccer League was a free-spending, decentralized league, meaning teams spent excessive money on star players like Pele to draw in fans. The league never generated meaningful revenues or substantial growth that it needed. By 1984, financial tolls from overspending cost the league almost all of its clubs as they began shuttering their franchises. In 1985, the North American Soccer League officially suspended operations.
So,
This is Jim Kirkland.
bankrupt.
He's the head coach of the Philadelphia Union and has been with the MLS from the very beginning.
You know, there was a time in the 70s and 80s that, 75,000 people were coming out to watch soccer games. The New York Cosmos as the kind of example of that. But what did happen is it was kind of a reckless spending. It was maybe too much too soon. There weren't the soccer-specific stadiums that there are now. And it was kind of like a traveling circus almost, and it was a little bit out of control. And without a real kind of vision and longer-term plan, I think the lessons learned were they got a little too big for themselves too quickly, and all of a sudden now the money dries up.
By 1993, the new MLS League was announced, with a centralized structure that controlled costs similar to the NFL. Clubs were split into divisions and run by investor operators or owners. 10 clubs were created for the initial debut.
First clubs: DC United, Metro Stars. Who the fuck are they? San Jose Clash. I know they were called the Earthquakes, so they're still called the San Jose Earthquakes. Burn, Columbus Crew. I remember this badge, bro. Oh, this badge. What? Who were these people? I guess that's LA Galaxy, Colorado Rapids, Mutiny, New England Revolution, who are still there, and then fuck me, I don't know half of these teams.
In 1996, with 2 more clubs added just 2 years later.
I think back to when I first started in Major League Soccer in 2001 as a rookie. We were playing games in high school football stadiums in Dallas. We were playing in Division III colleges in Naperville. Early on, we were down to 10 teams. There was real discussions in my rookie year in the offseason that the league might not make it. At the time, Phil Anschutz was in charge of and owned 7 of the teams, of the 10. So it was on life support. And Don Garber came in and injected this life into a league that was quite literally in trouble.
The league was met with strong pushback during its early years. Traditional soccer fans were opposed to some of the rule changes and scoffed at the MLS's attempt to Americanize the sport. Then in 2002, it had to fold 2 teams, the Miami Fusion and Tampa Bay Mutiny.
And what happened after that, and what was probably one of the most important things, was the building of the soccer-specific stadiums. A real brick and mortar building that our supporters and fan bases could call their own. They weren't, old college football stadiums or old NFL stadiums. They were soccer-specific, and now I think we're up to 27 of these state-of-the-art, beautiful, facilities that can house 30,000 people.
And I'd be willing to bet that these stadiums in the MLS now are probably better than any other stadiums in the world. Like obviously you got certain stadiums in Europe which are like insane, but like in terms of like a lot of them, like a lot of clubs, like the Milan clubs for example, they've got stadiums that a stadium that's like very old. So I guess in terms of like, not futurism, like just in terms of the facilities and stuff, they probably do have better facilities than clubs like Milan, Inter Milan, AC Milan, even like Manchester United. Our stadium's like falling apart. Like, I would be willing to bet that the MLS stadiums on average are better than the Premier League stadiums. 100% that's probably the case.
Some cases
100%.
down in Atlanta, 50,000 people.
In terms of like the facilities and stuff, obviously there's history behind stadiums that's incredible. That's a whole different thing. But I mean, in terms of like facilities, etc., it's got to be the best in the world.
At a game. So that's something that we really was important, and it was a real turning point.
By 2007, things began to trend upward for the MLS, with the establishment of the designated players rule. This rule allowed teams to sign star players from abroad. Most famously, the signing of David Beckham to the LA Galaxy with a deal that was worth $250 million.
Holy
shit! Rule certainly has paved the way and has been a smart initiative in that we grew the league in a smart way. It wasn't that you could have 10 David Beckhams on your team, where previously in the former NASL they maybe expanded too quickly. With the way they strategically went about the designated player rule / David Beckham rule, was calculated, and it didn't put all your eggs in one basket. So I think that was a really intelligent move that put our league on the global level, because David was an icon on and off the field.
Early 2000s was really R&D. It's to figure out how do we attack this, and I think the soccer-specific stadiums, the designated player, all part of that R&D process to figure out how do you build a league unique to our country, the playoff systems, the different formats. When I got involved in sort of 07, 08, I thought the next 10 to 15 years would be the investment phase, where we grow from 15 teams to 30 plus, 30 teams. Cover the map much more completely like other major sports.
What is the goal for how many teams the MLS wants? Like, because it just seems to keep going. Actually, let me just see. MLS. Is there new teams being planned to come in? MLS expansion. Isn't there one in Jackson? I don't know, maybe not. So Las Vegas is now a front runner for a new MLS team. Yeah, man, like it seems like there's just possibility for new teams just to come up constantly. So I guess Las Vegas is now the next sort of team being planned. God damn, man. I wonder what's next.
The MLS is focused on expanding its clubs to massive sports markets and increasing popularity with younger generations. For over 25 years, the MLS has grown into a massive operation. Clubs now span from coast to coast, with Austin FC debuting in 2021 and new clubs in 2022 and 2023
St.
for
Louis.
the Charlotte Football Club and St. Louis City, respectively.
You've seen the breakthroughs city by city, but
Bro, that's insane. I love this as well because I don't know if anyone's going to know this, but if you play Football Manager, you would know like when you actually play the game, it will update the new teams that are planned to come in the next coming year, and it's always so interesting for me when I see like, oh, there's this new team now that I've never even seen before.
the critical mass of the league really won't be apparent until we reach that sort of 30-team milestone. Sport is something that you enjoy together as a community, as a family, as intergenerationally. So we're still building the storylines, we're still building the rivalries, we're still building the traditions. And that's something that takes time. It will happen organically. It's not something we can unnaturally force.
The clubs are becoming more valuable than ever. In 2008, the average valuation of MLS teams was about $37 million. Today, clubs are valued at $550 million, higher than some teams in the Premier League. Currently, the Los Angeles Football Club is the highest valued MLS team at $860 million.
It's almost alarming to see some of the valuations of the teams in Major League Soccer, because you think of some of the old English teams that have 100 plus years of history, or teams in different parts of Europe that have been around forever. But what you see now with our league is these brand new stadiums, these young, exciting ownership groups that are coming in, the advertising dollars that come in, the amazing facilities, and they're really jumping in value at a really quick rate. Sometimes it's shocking for people to see that.
The US is a cheat code. That's what I'm figuring out. The US is just a cheat code when it comes to sport. It's a cheat code. If done right, man. It's a cheat code. You're going to get rich, man. These clubs in a few years will probably be as wealthy as, I say in a few years, in like 10, 20 years, possibly could be as wealthy as the Barcelonas, Real Madrid, Manchester United. Possibly. Maybe that's a bit of a jump because they are like an extreme level. But on average, will be more expensive, or have more value than the top Premier League teams, for example.
As an example, LAFC is valued at higher than even a club like Newcastle, who just had basically trillionaires come in and buy it. You know, so
holy shit,
it's incredible
That's
to
nuts.
see the growth of this league.
In 2018, Gallup issued a report that tied soccer and basketball for second in popularity for sports to watch among 18 and 34-year-olds, overtaking baseball.
So
When I walk my kids to school in Center City, Philadelphia, and drop them off, I used to, 10 years ago, I used to only see NFL, NBA, you know, maybe a Major League Baseball, you know, a couple hockey Flyers jerseys. When I walk my kids to school now, it's not just Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm seeing Philadelphia Union jerseys, but then I'm also seeing now rivals of the Philadelphia Union. I'm seeing New York City FC jerseys. I'm seeing a Zlatan Ibrahimovic from the LA Galaxy jersey. I'm seeing a throwback, David Villa from New York City FC. And you're kind of going, this is different.
And a study done in 2020 by Morning Consult found that soccer is the most popular sport among Generation Alpha. And the Los Angeles Football Club owner Larry Berg believes that the MLS could overtake Major League Baseball as America's number 3 sport in 10 years' time.
MLS still has to improve their product. They got to go out and get better players, right? And so if that soccer popularity continues to rise with Generation Z and then Generation Y, that's going to help the MLS, right? Generation Alpha, Generation Z, Generation Alpha. If that soccer continues to, that trajectory, that's only going to help the MLS. Again, how big, we don't know, because right now that popularity seems to be from the international standpoint. They like Premier League. They like to see the big stars. That competition is completely different from MLS.
But before the MLS can attempt to overtake the MLB anytime soon, the league still needs to dominate in one crucial area: TV viewership.
I wonder what the viewership for the MLS final was. Obviously, this is before that happened, but I would be interested to see that.
While the MLS's rapid growth has been able to overcome financial issues, fan pushback, and leadership shakeups, the one thing that has been slow to grow over the years is its television footprint. Media rights are a massive cornerstone to how a league functions, and operational revenue. Just take the NFL for example. In 2020, the league made an estimated $9.89 billion from its media deal, which is evenly distributed amongst all 32
Money's
teams.
different.
This gives teams like the Green Bay Packers something called national revenue of $309 million for 2020. For the 2019-2020 fiscal year, during the pandemic, this national revenue helped teams stay afloat as most stadiums remained closed and teams were unable to generate local revenue, or revenue from ticket sales, merchandise, or stadium rentals. For the Packers' 2019-2020 fiscal year, they were only able to generate $62 million in local revenue, compared to its 2018-2019 fiscal year, where it generated $211 million in local revenue. The MLS is a localized sport, meaning a massive amount of the team's revenue is generated from ticket sales, merchandise, and player contracts it sells to other leagues around the world.
Media rights. I keep harping on that, but that's the foundation right now of all the leagues, media rights, because in this age of content, MLS is going to need that money to grow. Now, they're going to need a network that's really going to invest in them, be able to tell their story, be able to introduce fans to their stars of the sport, being able to market their sport better so that people can gravitate, because right now, a lot of people do not watch MLS from a national level. It's more of a localized market, right? This is why your Austins and your Charlottes, hopefully those two markets continue to rise, and that's going to help, MLS grow, but they need a national audience.
The MLS is looking to establish a new media rights deal in 2022. The MLS's current 8-year media deal with ESPN, Fox, and Univision has generated an estimated $90 million per year since 2015. The league hopes that it can capitalize on the success from its younger fan base, social media presence, and the FIFA World Cup that's being hosted in the US in 2026.
I think the way we're going to broadcast to our fan base, you'll see another league sometime between now and 2026 in the way fans can participate and consume the quality of play, and they'll see that it is comparable to some of the best leagues.
If we continue to do the work that we're doing, with the unique fan bases that we have, with the great ownership that we have, with the product on the field that's continuing to improve, as the TV production gets better and better, I think that the sky's the limit for Major League Soccer.
Interesting video, man. I love this sort of stuff. It's just fun to see. Something that's so different for me personally. Let's see the comments now. I know it gets quite touchy for this kind of stuff. One thing that helps MLS is that games are relatively short compared to American football and baseball, both of which can tie up over 3 hours in real time from the beginning to the end of the game. And this is also a US broadcaster, so I'm guessing 99% of people on this comment section are from the US, huh? If we as a country could pull off a relegation promotion system, the MLS would have even more fire, but keep the playoffs since the playoffs are exciting. Yeah, like, it's obviously good to have your own sort of style, and playoffs are still a thing in European soccer. It's just a different sort of way. For most leagues, like we have it in the English league, but it's for the second league being promoted to the top league, then we don't have it in the top league. But I do think relegation and promotion is also really insane thing. But I think they're locked into like not having that because the owners bought into the teams thinking that they wouldn't be able to get relegated, etc. So I guess that's a really hard thing to implement. But more fast-paced sports like the NFL, yeah, 50 minutes of action. It's just different style, man. NHL NASCAR fan here. Might attend my first MLS game this week. If not, then watch it a lot more. Definitely interested. I hope you win. That would be cool to see, like to experience. Competing with faster-paced, higher-scoring sports like the NFL. I've watched MLS matches lately, and the crowd in any field is amazing. That's what I actually do think is really beautiful about soccer, man. Like the fans, I don't know how it is in the MLS, but the fans are actually sectioned off. Like there's a huge rivalry between the fans. Like certain rivalries, the fans can't be pinned together. Like they can't be put in the same seats, sitting one next to each other, etc. Like I know in the NFL and stuff, fans are just sort of placed everywhere, which obviously has its own beauty. But I feel like that's one thing I do love about soccer: the fact that the fans in most leagues, again, I don't know about the MLS, aren't sitting next to each other because it would be absolute chaos if not. It's beautiful, but also quite chaotic at the same time. But I think it's quite cool. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. I enjoyed this video. Hopefully I can post this to YouTube. If not, those on the Patreon, hopefully you enjoyed this one. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But until next time, like, subscribe.